Hello everyone, and good day to all of you. My name is Faiza Yousuf, and today I will be talking about a topic that is really near and dear to my heart. I am really grateful for this opportunity to record this session for all of you, and we'll be talking about supercharging your personal growth journey. And I want to talk about this because again it has a lot of the things that are really personal to me. I'm someone who works on a lot of things at the same time. So I run two nonprofits, I run one social enterprise, I have one startup that I started last year. I'm somebody who likes to read a lot and I volunteer a lot of my time. Right now recording this is also one of the volunteering thing that I'm doing. I also have a consulting career. I have my Upwork profile is in the top 1% talent on the platform. Again, I'm a family person. I have a family to take care of, household to manage, pets to take care of. I also am someone who's very rigid when it comes to my work ethic. I'm a neurodiverse individual, so I have a slightly different set of challenges than other people. And then I'm somebody who really likes to follow through on my goals. So I wanted to share what I've learned in the past 14 years of my career, and maybe that helps my fellow women in tech or anyone who's watching or listening me. When it comes to goal setting, it is really tricky. So we just went through the whole new year, new me phase where a lot of people were setting goals. And we all know that after the first couple of weeks, the excitement or motivation of following through on a goal just fizzles out. And we just completely forget about those things, all the gym memberships, all the Pilates and all the, Zumba classes, they stay behind, and we just keep going up with our lives like the way that we used to. So it is a tricky business, and there are processes in place and systems in place for that can help us be good at goal setting and then following through. So the top thing that you need to think about is focusing on your behavior instead of motivation. This is something that I have learned while I was working with a coach a few years ago, that instead of me relying on this motivation that I will do something when I'm motivated, I need to focus on the behavior. I need to build a habit instead of motivation. And when it comes to habit, you can do a lot of things to build good habits. So for example, you can so there are a lot of things that people say and do. So if you go through any of the productivity YouTube rabbit hole, or you read a lot of self-help books, or you do a lot of reading around human psychology or productivity, you will see that there is a lot of information that is available. So people will talk about time blocking, they will talk about sizing your goals properly, they will talk about quantifying things. They will talk about doing everything every single day. You will also have questions about the ability to self-reflect. You must have heard about atomic habits or tiny habits books, the books that are really famous about it. So how do you set a habit, or how do you make a behavior basically? Then a lot of people talk about snowballing, and what exactly is snowballing, and should you count on it? Whatever you want to achieve, be it growing as a person or as a professional. For example, you want to learn new skills, or you want to be healthy, you want to have a better diet, you want to spend more time with your family, you want to have a new hobby, for example. Whatever is your goal, what if after a while you realize that it's not worth my time? Then what happens? And then of course, if you quit a goal, when is the right time to quit? So these are all the questions that I also experienced while I was consuming a lot of content around productivity and goal setting and self-help books and human psychology books, and books that promise you that they're going to turn you into like an awesome person or something like that. And I through my process of working with a coach, working with a therapist, uh, journaling, documenting things, experimenting, I have a few answers in my context for you. So if I talk about myself, the time blocking, it doesn't work for me. So if I go on my calendar and say that 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. I'm going to work on so and so project, it's not something that's going to work for me. I'm someone with a lot of things happening at the same time. uh, I have pets, I have a husband, I have a family, I take care of my parents. So there are a lot of things that are happening. So I can set a goal for a day or a week and I can get that done. But blocking the time is not something that is usually in my control unless there is a meeting and I have a commitment to be there. Size of the goal, in my case, I do not set boring goals. So I'm not going to set a goal that I will read 1 page a day. This is not something that will excite me. So generally I do a doable goal, so 20 minutes of reading, 30 minutes of reading, and it should not be boring. So when I was working on my habit of reading, I started reading like really, I should not say trashy, but like really like fun books, I would say, fantasy, a lot of different things. Whatever I could I could find, whatever I fancied, I read, because I wanted to get into the habit of reading. And now later on, I spend a lot of time reading a lot of business books because now I'm in the habit of reading. How should you quantify it? So in my case, I do both milestones and habit tracking. I make a habit tracker on my journal, and then just track the things that I want to track. So for example, I need to make sure that every day I'm stretching, every day I'm spending some time in meditation, and I'm spending some time walking. So these are the things that I track when it comes to my daily health habits. Do you need to do every single habit every day? It depends. Again, there are some things that I would do maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and there are things that you can do every day. Even though habit means something that you, in your head, it may mean that you're doing them daily, but generally it means something that is predictable and periodic. How soon should you self reflect on your habit tracker or your goals? For some goals, you should do it monthly. For some, you should do it quarterly. I generally do a quarterly review and then an yearly review to kind of just go through everything that I promised myself, and then what happened and why something happened or did not happen. So if you think that you want to have a tiny habit, you want to get into the habit of maybe doing online classes or taking online classes or completing online courses, so you should not set a goal of maybe watching a content for 2 minutes. I would not think, I think it would be too tiny. So you need to make it a little bit substantial. So if you, for example, you want to complete a course on Coursera, you know that generally videos are 10 minutes or less. So maybe a video a day or a couple of videos a day is something that is more substantial and can help. Should you count on snowballing? Absolutely. I think it works really well. Snowballing is the phenomena when you start with something tiny, and then over the period of time it grows and grows and grows and becomes something really, really good and really, substantial. If you think that your goal is not worth your time, you 100% should pivot. There was a time when speaking at conferences was a goal that I had. Eventually I did a lot of speaking, a couple of a dozen speaking engagements in a year is what I was targeting, and I did that. I spoke everywhere that I could get an opportunity to kind of get into this habit of speaking and prepping for a speaking engagement and stuff like that. Now I don't think that way unless I find value in something, or I think that this is something that there's a person that I cannot say no to, or there's something that looks like a really good opportunity, I would do that. Otherwise, there are no speaking goals in my yearly goals anymore. And should you quit? When is the right time? Whenever your context changes. In my case, I became busier. I realized that a lot of these speaking engagements were not adding any value to me. So I decided that now I need to quit and go for something else. So when it comes to goal setting, there is one thing that we repeatedly see, and that is herd mentality. So you will see that there was a time when everybody was talking about yearly planners. So all of us bought like a million yearly planners. Then people started talking about, to-do apps, for example, and everybody thought that to-do apps were just wonderful. Then everybody started on the bandwagon of, diets, or they started on the bandwagon of waking up at like 4 a.m. in the morning and taking a cold shower, for example. So you will see that a lot of our goals are also influenced by what other people are doing. And even though we don't see any value in those goals, just because other people are doing it and they look really cool doing it, we just go ahead and set them as our goals. Waking up at 5 a.m., will it ever be my goal? I do not think so. So I know that they say that CEOs should wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning. I don't think that's a good idea for me. It doesn't set in my context and my lifestyle. So I'm not going to pick it. Making elaborate bullet journals and creating dark academia content, for example. Do I think it's something for me? No, absolutely, I don't have time for this. I'm not going to do that. So when you're setting a goal also, you need to make sure that does it make sense in your context. Is it something that you really want to do, or is it something that you want to do for the gram, for example? So same goes for getting a degree, same goes for changing your jobs, same goes for thinking about working remotely, same goes for getting yourself certified, for example. So you need to think about your goals in an objective manner and not because other people are doing it. This is another concept. It comes from economics. So, for example, you have picked up a goal. You wanted to learn something. You wanted to learn how to play an instrument, or you wanted to learn about economics, for example. And then you have spent, I don't know, 100, 200 hours doing that. And then you realize that it's not worth your time. But in your head, you realize that I've already spent so much time on it. Might as well spend some more and see what happens. This is the sunk cost mentality that we need to get out of. So the moment that you realize that this is something that is not working out for me and it doesn't make sense for me in my context, you need to stop thinking about the time and energy and the money that you've already spent on it and just completely move on, because there is no way in this real life that you can recover whatever you have lost, whatever you have sunk already. So just move on and make sure that whatever next decisions that you are taking are really thought through and you are very objective about them. Then there is another thing. It's called action bias. I suffer from this a lot because I'm someone who cannot stay still. So in situations where I'm supposed to do nothing, I will still do something and make a mess out of it. So this is another thing that over the years I've learned to identify in myself and make sure that when I need not to do anything, I know that I'm supposed to not engage in that. So there are times when we don't actually have to take so many things on our plate, or maybe set up like a million goals, or just think about doing something for the heck of doing it. So make sure that whenever you are taking an action, responding to a situation, you take a second and think about it, and just ask yourself this question: am I doing it just for the sake of doing it, or does it actually make sense? So this question can really help you make a better decision. And then confirmation bias. If you think something is a good idea, you will find a study about it, or a research, or an article on the online that I think this is a good idea because so and so says that. So confirmation bias is really really common in business decisions. It's really common in our personal lives also. So if you have set your mind to something, you will find or seek information that validates your own thoughts. So be mindful of that when it comes to your career, when it comes to your personal life. So our focus should be on goal specific decision making. The decision making should be something that really spend some time on, and do not we should not make snap judgments. So what we need to do, we need to create a master list. I have a master list of a lot of things that I want to do. I call it brain dump. It has a million things. I want to get trained on how to how to, for example, bake a cake. I don't know any baking. I cannot bake if my life depends on it. So for example, this is a goal that I have. I want to someday get another master's in maybe literature, for example. This is something that's a far far away goal, but it's in my master list because this is something that I think about. Then you basically divide those items in your master list into categories. You prioritize them, you set milestones on them. The things that are part of that you want to make a part of your daily routine, you make them your habits. You do habit tracking. Then you do periodic reviews, and you need to be really honest with yourself. Do I need to do all of this? Generally we overwhelm ourselves with a lot of goals. We will have like 50 goals. Don't do that to yourself. In my case, in every category, I have either two or three goals. So, for example, when it comes to health, generally my health related goals is to make sure that I get enough movement in my day. And the second one would be that I get myself checked twice a year, for example. When it comes to my professional growth or my productivity, I make sure that I'm speaking to a coach maybe every month, or twice or thrice in 6 months, or I'm working with a therapist to make sure that I'm processing things really well. When it comes to learning, I have one or two courses, or programs or fellowships that I have my mind on, and I'm going to focus on them and make sure that I go there and get them done. So really be really honest with yourself, and watch out for biases, because it's really important. Either it's action bias, either it's affinity bias, or confirmation bias. Make sure that you're watching out for it, taking a pause and thinking about them, and then making a decision. And it's always okay to put things on the back burner. You may have a goal today, you realize it doesn't make sense for 2024, put it on a back burner. Think about it the next year, or maybe the next year, or maybe even after 10 years. That's absolutely fine. Do not have conflicting goals. So if you have a goal of something and then another goal that conflicts your first goal, it's not going to work out. So if you want a promotion in your current job, and then you also want to work on 50 other projects on some with a consulting client, for example, it's not something that's going to happen. Do not overwhelm yourself or guilt or shame yourself. Do not count on motivation. Do not be inflexible, and do not separate your goals from your identity. So, for example, if you want to be someone who has healthy habits, then you need to make it your identity that I am a healthy person. I'm a person who makes healthy decisions, good decisions about my health. In my case, I also say that I'm a person who makes really good decision when it comes to what I put inside of my body, the food that I eat. I'm a person who's very conscious when it comes to consuming content online. I'm a person who's very I'm a reader, for example, or I'm a person who enjoys learning things, or I'm a person who likes to help other people. So do not separate your goals from your identity, whatever your goals are. Do not overly plan your schedule. So if you have so it's the same way for managers also. You will see that if you have 8 working hours, a lot of managers will overly plan your schedule with like nine working hours per day. Do not do that. Do not even plan for 8 working hours, plan for 6, because generally human beings are not capable of being productive for the whole 8 hours in one stretch. So do not overly plan it. Make sure that you take a break in between. Make sure that you're moving around. Make sure that your schedule has a little bit of flexibility for you to kind of take care of things that are really unexpected. And do not seek for shortcuts. There are no shortcuts to life and to having a good career. This is something that I'm really passionate about, and that is optimizing my environment. You need to optimize your environment for success. You need to set yourself up for success. In my case, I've made sure that my living space, so my living room, my bedroom, is not somewhere where I work. So I work from a separate room. If you can afford to do that, if you're fortunate and privileged enough to have a space in your home that is only for you to work, and I work from home. I've been doing that since 2012. So make sure that you have a separate workspace. Make sure that you have a comfortable chair. Make sure that you invest some money in in a good table. Make sure that you have whatever you need to do a good job. You're not supposed to buy like a million things. Do not get into the whole cycle and spiral of consumerism, but make sure that your environment is optimized enough for you to be able to do a good job. And then also, in my case also, I plan things ahead to set myself up for success. So for example, I know this is the time when I go out for a walk. I'm going to put my shoes out and my hoodie out, so that every time I pass from that specific spot, I can see them, and it reminds me that I need to go for a walk at 4 p.m. That's my time to go for a walk. Setting habit triggers, it's the same thing as I mentioned. In my case, I also set up a lot of alarms and a lot of alerts on my computer, not on my phone, because if you pick up your phone, a lot of times you get into the spiral of checking messages and calls and just checking social media. So I have a lot of habit triggers set on my computer. For example, I generally used to forget taking my vitamins. So my current habit trigger is that the time in the morning when I come to my office to start my work day, I will bring a water bottle with me and a glass. And then the next thing that I need to do while I'm turning on my computer is to take my vitamins. So I have set up as this habit trigger, and I think I've never forgotten to take my vitamins after setting up a habit trigger. So you need to build those triggers into your day to minimize your decision making. So you don't have to think about it, that what am I going to go do next. In my case, if I show you my Asana, you will see that it populates all of my days. So if you go and, for example, want to check that what am I going to be doing on, for example, 13th of March or 15th of March, you can just go to my Asana, and it's going to show you that I have like 4 meetings, I have these things and that thing, and I need to work on some specific project or submit a report or whatever that may be, or test a product, for example. So I do not have to get up in the morning and think about it. Okay, so what kind of work do I have today? What am I going to do today? I do not have to do that. I just have to come to my desk, open up Asana, and I can see that everything is laid out for me. So I have built a system. So you need to focus on building a system for yourself and make use of technology. I just mentioned Asana. So I use Asana. This is one of my most favorite tools ever. Another thing that I use very often is Loom. I Instead of doing a lot of meetings, I would just create a quick Loom video to explain something and move on with my day. So make sure that you're using technology. I use a Pomodoro app to basically do sprints. That is another thing that you can get into your day. I have a smartwatch. I make sure that I use it to the fullest in terms of making sure that I'm being a productive person. So, a few things to consider. Think about your work in two categories. There is work that is deep work. Currently, me recording this webinar is deep work because 100% of my focus is on this, and I'm thinking about it, speaking about it, checking myself, while I'm also, checking my thoughts, checking what is coming out of my mouth, and also seeing myself on the screen. So this is deep work. And then there is work that is shallow work. So, for example, in a lot of cases, responding to messages, Slack messages, responding to emails, passively listening to something, for example, in a call. So you need to divide your work in deep and shallow work, and make sure that you schedule deep work in your day. So that deep work could be something that's generally takes 50 minutes or more, or 30 minutes or more in some cases, and then you need your 100% attention to get that stuff done. So make sure that you schedule that, and then you divide your day. So the time in the day when you are at your best behavior, in the sense that you are really motivated, energized, you do not have a headache, you're feeling great about your day, you schedule your deep work at that specific portion of your day. And then shallow work, you can do it. So for example, in my case, I do not do early morning and afternoon meetings, because this is a time when I'm doing a lot of my deep work. I will schedule generally all of my calls after 4 p.m. Because this is the time when I am feeling a little bit low. and I'm okay to get on a call and just discuss something that's um, not very that doesn't require a lot of my attention. So calls is something that I generally count shallow work, because in most cases I'm on calls with my teams, and I'm generally a passive person listening and sometimes intervening and giving advice. So you can do that. Think about your day in terms of these are the hours that I'm really motivated and I'm really energized and I'm really focused, and I can get important work out of the way, and this is the time when I'm not feeling that good, so I'm going to invest my time into things that are shallow. Invest in rest. This is something that I'm currently really focused on. I need to invest my time in rest. It's not wasting your time. Rest is not wasting your time. It's an investment in yourself. So I'm currently in the process of framing my mindset in terms of embracing rest. And rest doesn't mean scrolling through social media. Rest doesn't mean binge watching Netflix. Rest means to actually rest and not do anything. Just sitting somewhere, standing somewhere, walking somewhere, and not doing anything actively. So this is something that I'm currently in the process of learning. It's a difficult thing to do, especially for someone like me who's always in a rush. And whenever whatever you are doing, whatever thing you pick up from this talk or from any book or from any video, run it like an experiment. Do not be scared of failures. If something doesn't work out, just discard it. Go ahead and find something that works for you. It took me 14 years to reach to a point where I have some sort of a system figured out for myself. So it is going to take a while, maybe less for you. It took a very long time to me. 14 years is a very long time, but maybe it's going to take you 6 months or a year. But run it like an experiment and make it your identity. So whatever you want, you are a healthy person. You are a person who you are a reader, you are a writer, you are your problem solver, you are a person who does very good conflict resolution, you are a leader, for example. Make it your identity. And whatever you do, whatever experiment that you run, make sure that you record your findings, write them down. Use a notebook, use Google Docs, use MS Word, whatever you want to use. Record your findings. These are some of the books that I would recommend if you want to think more about, if you want to learn more about this topic. Atomic Habits, then Drive, Daily Rituals. It's very interesting. I loved Daily Rituals. It's a book about a lot of the book basically lists down a lot of daily rituals of really productive people, who are, some of them have passed away, some of them are alive, and how do they manage their day. Then there is another book called Peak Performance, and Deep Work is, again, it's one of my favorite books. I would recommend you to take a look at these books, read them, and then learn more about productivity, habit tracking, and being on this journey of personal and professional growth. So thank you so much. I hope it was helpful. And if you think you would want to chat more about it, feel free to find me on LinkedIn and reach out. I'm always up for a chat. And thank you so much for the team at Let's Remotify for this opportunity. And